welcome Yamhill County to Speaking Frankly. I'm your host, Howie Harkema, and our tagline is, "And how we doing?" Well, today we're doing great because I have Doris Towery, who's running for position 7 of the McMinnville School Board, and she's going to be talking with us today and tell us all the things that are going on out there in the real world. So, welcome, Doris.
Thank you, Howie. I'm so excited to be here. Always a pleasure to get to talk with you.
So, Doris, what made you decide to run for the McMinnville School Board seat?
I um I have been involved with the school system since my kids, well, even before my kids entered school. But I'm a product of a quality public education, and I honestly believe that high quality public education has the ability to transform lives. And I've watched it time and time again in our school districts. And so I've always tried in my nonprofit career to be connected into the schools, especially helping our underserved students. Um, and so it's been something that's been on my mind for a lot of years. I actually applied for school board position when one was open in Springfield, as well as here in McMinnville the last time one was open. So I thought this time we have some incumbents that are have served our school district tremendously, who aren't running, and that this would be a good time to step in now that my kids are graduated. And I want to make sure kids coming behind mine have the incredible educational experience my children did.
Awesome. So, so what do you think your background is as far as preparing you for this office?
Well, first and foremost, I'm a mom, and I have two kids that went through the public school system. Um, and I've shared the story with some folks as I've been out talking to parents in our school district and teachers. When we moved here, my son was a junior in high school and was struggling pretty mightily. And we were not even here 2 weeks when we're sitting at the dinner table, and unsolicited, my son says, "Mom, my teachers here in McMinnville genuinely care about me being successful." And it was the first time I had heard that come out of his mouth. And we had had great teachers in his life, all through schools. But I knew as soon as we arrived here that this district was something special. And we watched, the incredible programs that we have in place, as our kids went through and got them successfully across the line, to graduation. So I've wanted to be engaged at a more deeper level to try and make a difference. My background, I've spent 20 plus years in the nonprofit arena. That works, most of it, and probably the stuff that I'm most passionate about has been wrapped around helping kids be successful. My work at United Way, while I was there for 10 years, we worked on the program to get the kids in transition to school, a KITS program, which is a pre-kindergarten program that we put in place in Lane County. And we worked with 5 school districts to, determine how we could help kids be more successful and support the school districts to build literacy rates, get kids to graduation more successfully, close the achievement gap. So I spent 10 years specifically working in that arena and tied very tightly to the school districts. I've been a SMART reader for years and sat on the leadership council with SMART. So literacy efforts and kids being successful, um, with their literacy has been a big passion point of mine. I worked on the Gift of Literacy project for 11 years with our Rotary Club down in Springfield, when our superintendent of schools was talking to our Rotary Club about how low our literacy rates for our third grade kiddos were. And, just kind of trying to brainstorm ideas how we could help them be more successful. And so our club started the Gift of Literacy, where every first grader in our school district got a book. They got to select from 10. There was a whole curriculum around it leading into our day of a Gift of Literacy. And we took the kids all onto the college campus and had community celebrity readers reading to our kids to let them, see how important reading was and that our community cared about them and their success. And then we ultimately built a partnership with the library district that we had special gift of literacy library cards. And we paid for kids that were outside of city limits to be able to have library cards and that they didn't have to pay that fee. And we're able to track information on how much more families were able to engage at the library and check out books and help their kids be successful. And so I really, whether it's gift of literacy or work I did with foster youth or my work at United Way, it seems like all of my efforts and my passion has been towards helping our kids be successful. And now that mine are officially out of school, this felt like a time that was good to step forward and have the space to invest more for other people's kiddos in our community.
Perfect. So, what do you see as the most important issues facing McMinnville School District currently and into the future?
Well, that's a great question. I think probably currently is going to be a continued focus on graduation rates for our kids. I mean, we are very blessed. We have the highest graduation rates for our Latinx students and low income students in the state of Oregon, which is pretty impressive. I mean, districts all across the country have been trying to close the achievement gap for minority kiddos, and that's been a big struggle. And we really have been super successful in McMinnville. And so I would see us wanting to continue that focus and success as we move forward. I think continued focus on our career and technical education
Mhm.
as we really look at what the job needs are going to be out in the working world once they graduate from high school. I think those career pathways and the opportunities to have more exposure and get a head start if they're looking to go into the trades is going to be incredibly helpful to them being successful. My husband and I are both first generation college graduates. So, of course, we dreamed our kids would go to school, college, like we had. And interestingly enough, our kids chose pathways when they were in the high school and have both chosen to enter into the trades. Our son is a very successful welder for a local company
Mhm.
here. And he developed that passion and skill set while he was at McMinnville High School and chose that career pathway that has helped him build, an incredible career that also has allowed him to be close to us, which selfishly we like that. And our daughter, right now, we're filling out applications. She just graduated last June, and she's looking to go to culinary school, possibly overseas. And again, that was, the support and encouragement and inspiration that she got from her teachers at the high school. So I think, that focus in what are jobs and opportunities for our kids that some are going to be college related and some of them may be in the trades, and putting energy on both those fronts is really important. Um, a continued focus on our literacy rates. We're seeing good scores, but we've got certainly opportunity to improve. And that I think is a critical piece for our kids and our families. And I think we're probably going to have to be looking at, additional services and support structures around mental health. Our kiddos are, I think our kiddos were struggling pre-pandemic. I think coming out of the pandemic, we've seen that become more exasperated. And I think making sure that we have access to services, support structures in the schools, additional counseling services to really help our kiddos, feel healthy and be successful is going to be super important for us to focus on as a district.
That's very, very important. And
Yeah,
the piece that you talked about of manufacturing and or trades,
yep,
um, I think America as a whole outsourced most everything in the early 90s, and we need to get back to being able to do it in-house in America. And I think
absolutely. Yeah, I am the child of a steel worker, so my dad was in the steel mill and in manufacturing, my growing up years. Um, and it provided an incredible career for him. And he was able, as a single father, to support four little girls
Yeah,
and provide us a good life. Um, it was interesting working in healthcare during the pandemic, um, to see, because we have outsourced so much manufacturing, how many problems it caused.
right,
We couldn't get any face masks, we couldn't get chemo gowns. Everything was outsourced, not being manufactured in the United States, and as stuff shut down, we couldn't bring stuff in from China, and things as simple as saline bags, to be able to have, for chemo treatments. So I think manufacturing jobs, and making sure we're bringing more of that back in the United States is going to, that's a big piece of what's in front of us. And we've got to have, kids coming out of school, ready and prepared to enter into those fields. And they're good fields. My son makes, a great living as a welder. He didn't incur any debt with college. He's got multiple levels of certification, as, he's working for the company that he's working for. He has health benefits. He has a 401k. He's a part of profit sharing. I mean, it provides incredible opportunities, and allows, our future kids, as they come out, to be able to have, jobs that provide family living wages, and they can have a quality life and afford rent and be able to
right.
stay in our area. Very important.
Also, not everybody falls into wanting to be in the tech sector in these days. So the manufacturing and those jobs like that are so important. Machinists and construction engineers, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, kudos to your son.
But even down to, folks being in the, the medical arena, schedulers, folks that are able to work as medical assistants.
Right,
There's so many jobs that may have some schooling and community college potentially, to get, but critically needed in the healthcare arena. Kiddos being able to have opportunities to, nursing. We're going to have we already have a, crisis and shortage of, folks entering into the healthcare arena, especially as nurses. That's going to be a high demand profession, as we move forward, years down the road,
well,
and
especially
as we have
after
an aging
COVID.
population.
Yeah, especially after COVID though,
Oh,
because a lot
goodness
of
gracious,
people have
yes.
left the arena. So yeah, the need is great.
Well, and a lot of people left the arena as teachers. That worries me.
Yeah, that's
That,
concerning.
and so I guess maybe that might go back to your question of saying, talking about what do I see potentially as critical issues for the school
Right.
district? How do we continue? I didn't even say attract. We have amazing teachers. How do we continue to attract amazing teachers with high qualifications to continue to train them and help them to get stronger and better at what they do, and retain them in our district?
That's the hard part, the retention piece, I think.
And it's a hard job. Oh my goodness gracious. And probably, not even probably, it is the most important job. Our teachers are training our future citizens and our future leaders, for our community. And we need them to have the support, that they need to be successful in those classrooms.
Let's talk about graduations and career pathways.
Mhm.
Um, you talked about that we have a pretty high graduation rate. Does that also include the diverse population that lives in McMinnville or is an unincorporated McMinnville? We have a lot of Latinx and other that might feel like they're not getting the quality of education that they need to graduate with honors and or move forward. Um, I know that McMinnville does a good job of this, but what are your feelings about that?
I mean, first we have the top graduation rates, for Latino students, in the state, which is awesome. There's always room for improvement. And I think, how do you continue to build on that success and make sure that we are providing the opportunities, for, and not just our Latino students, all of our minority
Right.
students, and our low income students, that that presents its own set of challenges and issues.
Yeah.
And, we have a really high free and reduced lunch rate in McMinnville. So we have a large low income population, and those kids need the support structures to be there to help them be successful as well. So I think continuing to build on the programs that we have put in place. Listening it's been a couple weeks back when they had the presentation at the school board around our second language classes and working with our Latino students. We have a curriculum in place that's different than anybody else in the state. And it really is focused individually on those students, and really focused on what's going to help kids be successful. And I think that's why we're seeing the graduation rates that we are. But, we have a team in place here that is working to see how do we continue to expand that and to do even better for those kids. And and again, the options to, kids being able to graduate with honors and have the opportunity to go on to school, and connecting kids to, schools like Linfield, where Linfield's doing an incredible job, attracting first generation college students,
Mhm.
and building mentoring programs for those students to help them be successful. Our Rotary Club, and we had a number of Latino students that we did a workshop a year ago for students to help them write to get scholarships, and helping them be prepared to be able to attract in additional support structures to go on to school. And I think that also, the career pathways, how do we engage that student population as well to find the places where it fits for them to help them, find a good career path and be ready when they come out of school.
But you brought up something that's interesting to me. Um, School lunch programs, and not only school lunch, but breakfasts for the population that are in poverty. Um, and then it breaks into summer feeding programs for those same students and their families. Um, do you think that is something that we can keep going over time?
Goodness gracious, I hope so, Howie. Uh, when I was doing work with YCAP, they still have it actually, because I was out at the Washer PTA meeting.
Sure.
But through YCAP, they were doing a Friday backpack program, and so because that's the thing that we don't think about when the kids go home. They can get breakfast and lunch at school, but when they go home over the weekends, they don't have that. And
Right.
so being able to have a great partner like YCAP and, our food bank, and be able to have, food that's available on Fridays where you can put food in those backpacks for their families when they go home is critical over school breaks. Certainly during summer, having the summer lunch program is incredibly important, because it's hard to learn if, you're hungry and you can't focus because you're hungry and you have
Exactly.
food insecurity. So that's a core underpinning for our kiddos. And it should be something that's pretty simple for us to do, is feed our kids, so they can be focused when they're in school and not be worrying about that.
How
So I
can
think, yeah,
parents?
having those programs still available, continuing partnerships with YCAP will be really important and critical as well. And again, we have a great food pantry system here in our community, although that's certainly been taxed quite a bit over the course of the last several years, as we saw families slip more into poverty through the
Right.
pandemic and job losses. And so we have to make sure that those safety nets and support structures are there for our families.
I loved seeing some of the teachers and parents take the buses out during the summer and hand off food to the students in their community areas.
Yes,
And
and like our library here in McMinnville, our bookmobile partnered up with those. So then the bookmobile shows up, and not only are kids getting food, then they have opportunity to check out books with the bookmobile, so that during the summer months, they can continue reading and learning, and, keeping those skills sharp for when they come back to school, which I think is a brilliant partnership as well.
oh, I think it's awesome. So how can parents make a difference at the PTA and school board levels?
I think folks coming forward with their perspectives and ideas in a respectful way, I think is really important. I think for parents to be engaged and paying attention to, what's going on in our schools and learning about what all those different opportunities are for our kids. And being there to support their students as they're moving through the different grade levels. um, I was fortunate, even though I've had a demanding career, that I was able to volunteer for my kids. So I volunteered at track meets, and, I volunteered to help with speech and debate and judge on the weekends to help. And, I learned so much and met so many incredible kids, and, exposure to our incredible teaching staff that we have in the district. And, as a parent, I think it really helps reassure you that we've got some remarkable folks that are helping our kids, but then keeps you informed and involved. So I think sharing those perspectives and engaging as a parent is real important. And volunteer, volunteer for your kids sports, or come in and read to the classroom if they need help. One of my favorite volunteer jobs ever was being a smart reader. There's nothing cooler than watching a kiddo be able to read a book on their own for their very first time. So again, a great opportunity to be with our kids. I volunteered for my kids when they went to outdoor school. Again, it gave me a whole different perspective on our teachers. And I have, always adored our teachers and respected them because I know how hard a job it is. But you get a whole different perspective and outlook on just how dedicated and committed they are to helping our kids, reach their full potential. And so I would encourage parents to engage on those levels. There's lots of opportunities to do that.
So
And sometimes it's an hour, sometimes it might be a day, but whatever you want to fit into your schedule.
yeah, as parents and citizens, we all have to engage in something important, and nothing is more important than the school age students that are going to be our future leaders. Um, so yeah, I
Absolutely. I will tell you, judging speech tournaments, sometimes I, worry, as we watch all the divisiveness that is out there right now. And then you go sit in, a debate round, or, an extempt or impromptu round, and you listen to these kids, and they are so brilliant and so passionate, and they want to make a difference in the world, and they are a product of, and incredible teachers doing good work to prepare them. And it gives me incredible hope for what's in our future when you get to see that firsthand. They're brilliant.
there's no doubt in my mind. I worked with a number of them and had them volunteer at in a number of ways over the years, and it's just been fantastic to watch how amazing they truly are. Um, so McMinnville at school board doesn't want to end up like Newburgh's school board and have all of the problems that they have. Um, how do we stay away from that?
I think we need to genuinely be focused on all of our children being successful. Um, and I've talked to lots of parents, lots of teachers. Newburgh had 197 resignations. I mean, I
Right.
think that's probably close to 30% of their entire staff for a school district, and all of our kids suffer because of that. you know 200 kids left that school district, and when you figure you're anywhere from what, 9,000 to 13,000 a kid, that's a lot of money that just left a school district to
Yeah.
support kiddos. And for me, and that certainly is a motivator for this particular election and running. I don't want to see our district slip to that. We have done an outstanding job, and I think we've got an incredible superintendent. We had an amazing superintendent in Mary Alice, and now that we have Debbie Brockett here, she's going to carry that work forward with a different kind of passion, but still really focused on our kids being successful and all of our students being successful and being able to feel safe and secure in who they are and confident in who they are and not afraid to share their voice and their perspectives. That becomes critically important in our day, because that's what creates good future citizens and good future employees, and you know kids then as adults have healthy lives because of that. And
Right.
exposing our kids to all different perspectives and views and books, um, it helps them become well-rounded adults, and that's really important. And we can't afford to have anything less for our kids in our school district. They deserve the best, and they deserve us as adults doing our best to make sure we're stewarding that forward.
Do you believe that we can all work together eventually at the education level? Do you
God,
believe
I
that?
hope so, Howie. It's I have watched almost in disbelief when we have conversations around banning books. I mean, why would we limit educating our kids? Why would we not want them to expand their minds and their perspectives and to see, stories about kids from different cultures and different backgrounds and different countries, and and again, those different perspectives, to learn about it helps us. If we know better, we do better. And I think, again, when I see our kids like in the speech and debate program and hear them speak, and just the research and thoughtfulness that they've put forward, our kids want that. Our kids want to learn and to be able to expand their knowledge and world and experience, as well. And so, my hopes are, as grown-ups, we can dig down to be our best for our kids, and to show up to support our school districts, and to show up to support our kiddos, um, and to help them feel safe and secure in their school environment. It's too important. Kids, and
It
kids should
is.
not have to worry about being bullied, or having to deal with racist commentary when they come into school. It's not acceptable. School should be a warm, welcoming, nurturing environment.
We have about 2 minutes left. I'd like to bring up your website and ask you if you've got any upcoming meet and greets or debates or anything while we're bringing up your website.
We do have, we're going to do a kickoff for door knocking and canvassing on the 30th. So we'll be meeting at the public library on, I believe that's Sunday, the 30th, here in McMinnville. So we can kick that off. So folks will be on the doors, and encouraging folks to get out and vote. And it looks like we do have a candidate forum that's going to happen on May 2nd. So there should be more details coming out in the newspaper around that, and probably out on social media as well.
Um, so if you want to know more about Doris, go to doristowery.org, and that's her website. And now I'll bring up your Facebook page. And the Facebook page is Doris Towery for McMinnville School Board, position 7. So if you want to go there, it's Doris Towery for McMinnville School Board. And then, of course, it's position 7. Doris, thank you so much for all you do in this community. But always jumping in where you're really, really needed. I really appreciate all that you do for everybody. It's amazing to me to watch from the background what you're able to accomplish. So thank you very much for being on today, and stick around for a minute, because I'm going to turn off the recording, and thank you for being on.
Thank you for having me on, Howie. And I loved our last when we ran our bond for the school district, strong schools make strong communities. And I really believe that. I love this community and I want to continue to see our schools be strong here.
That is so awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.